Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game SO. Today I got a fun and completely different type of video for you guys today because I'm doing a new series, or at least trying it out, that I'm calling This Month in Emulation News. Because basically I do videos on all of the new emulation improvements and all of the things coming to diverse emulators like MAME, Azahar, and everything else under the sun. So I'm going to be comprising in quick updates throughout the video all of the different emulation improvements that have come in the month of June. Now I'm going to try to hit exactly the last day of June on this one. If you see it July 1st, just remember I'm talking about the entirety of June from start to finish, because honestly there's been a lot of movement in emulation across this month, both in MAME, Azahar, Amir on the Sega Saturn side of things, even Sega Hikaru and other items like that. And because the news on emulation comes fast and comes often, I figured comprising it for everybody at the end of the month would be a fun time. So leave me your thoughts on that down below. And before we get too far involved, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But without any further ado, let's jump into the first emulator that's seen some massive improvements this month and was one that was very fun to talk about. That is the fact that Teknoparrot now has support for Namco 246 boards and their derivatives. These are basically PlayStation 2 arcade boards that were shoved into big giant boxes by Namco and sent out to arcade operators basically after the era of custom bespoke 3D silicon for arcade boards was over. And while there could be improvements to the overall hardware, for the most part this is PlayStation 2 based. But some of the games, even though they were ported home to the PlayStation 2 console, have differences or even improvements compared to the home ports, and some of the games that are going to run on Namco 246 and the variants are going to be arcade exclusives. And because PPSSPP does not handle any of the arcade releases for PlayStation 2, you have the Play emulator that always did that, and that has now been incorporated into the backend of Teknoparrot, and it's going to make it much easier to actually use than even the Play emulator in my opinion. If you update your Teknoparrot today, you're going to be able to type in the names of Namco 246 games. You're going to see them pop up in the list, and you basically set it up to run like you would any other Teknoparrot game. And if you're not familiar with Teknoparrot, I have different videos including a tutorial on how to get it running. But this was a major improvement because basically anytime anyone asked me about the Play emulator, it was because they could not get it running. It was very difficult and fiddly to actually do anything, and that's not a knock against the emulation developers. They do a great job. It just kind of felt like the harder end of the emulation kind of difficulty curve. Think of it as the deep end of the pool. But now Teknoparrot's basically made that incredibly easier to be able to go ahead and enjoy these Namco 246 games. You just select your game, you go ahead and configure your controls in Teknoparrot, you hit play, and then the game will automatically be running in front of you, and that is awesome. Like the first Wangan game here, before you get to all the midnight tunes on modern arcade boards, is absolutely fun to play on Teknoparrot via the Play emulator, or even stuff like Tekken 4 and Tekken 5, those arcade releases can have different versions of the game and can have differences compared to the actual PlayStation 2 port. And honestly, preserving these games and making them playable for more people moving forward and making it easier was maybe one of my favorite innovations in emulation for the month of June. I can't wait to see what comes in July for Teknoparrot. Now moving back a generation, we're going to talk about Sega Saturn and the new Amir emulator, or Ymir depending on how you want to pronounce it. This is an in-development Sega Saturn emulator that's basically brand new to the quote-unquote market in the last couple of months, and it's seeing a ton of improvements. We're getting new batches of games that are playable, and honestly the emulation is getting extremely close to real Sega Saturn hardware. And while I do love to talk about Mr. FPJ on the channel, I understand that is still a niche compared to the epic amount of users that are out there emulating classic retro games. So it's one of those things I'm always advocating for software emulation, because it is the $0 cost to be able to enjoy these games that are no longer available to play outside of real hardware. And that is always awesome to see. And honestly, this emulator has just been kind of improving by leaps and bounds. It ran like 3 games the first time I tested it. Now it runs a laundry list of games, and for the most part in the games that it does run, it is very difficult to find any glitches, any performance issues, control issues, or anything else of the like. And before you ask down below, it doesn't seem to have internal rendering resolution bumps yet. Maybe that'll come to the emulator, maybe it won't, but I know it is the #1 question everyone loves to ask me, and I honestly do not have an answer. As soon as I know or there's anything to demo, I will show you guys in a video. But even the sound quality on this work in progress emulator is amazing, so go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, and I'll be right back with more.
Passing the checkpoint!
I mean, the sound is good to my ear, but leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. And I know there's other Saturn emulators on the market, and generally, if I'm not going to use Mr. FPGA or real hardware, I'm going to go to Meddefend, but Amir seems to be kind of positioning itself to be the new de facto best way to emulate Sega Saturn, at least as far as the early results are concerned. Because again, in some of these games, if I just told you I was running this on Mr. FPGA and not something like Sega Saturn emulation, you'd 100% believe me. And I would say I was running it on real Saturn hardware, but honestly, even with the best RGB that you can get out of a Saturn, it still wouldn't look this clean. But it is one of those things, this emulation keeps improving by leaps and bounds, more games keep getting added to it, and I think probably the next 6 months to a year, you'll probably see 100% compatibility across all of the most popular games. There's going to be a lot of deep cut weird releases that maybe nobody tests, but that'll definitely come in the future. But everything is looking bright as far as Sega Saturn emulation is concerned in June 2025. It's so awesome to see another emulator hit the market, because honestly we don't see that all that often. It's usually just improvements to emulators that already exist. But speaking of Sega and the House of the Dead, we also obviously got the big improvements in MAME. Now here's my asterisk for the video. I don't know when MAME is going to release, but I have the video ready. So you're either going to see this right before or right after the MAME.278 is out video. So just keep that in mind. Either this is a retread of about 8 to 12 hours ago, or you're getting a little bit of future information. We're not quite sure, but of course I have a little bit of an insider track on what's coming, and I know what the merges are. And the sound quality in MAME for Model 2 has been improved as well, so it's your second soundtrack sample, and I'll be right back. And that just sounds like the House of the Dead on the Sega Model 2, and that is because there's been a ton of merges into MAME, both on the visual performance side as well as the audio side, basically giving you a much better version of Sega Model 2 within MAME. And tell me down below in the comments, do you want to see the MAME updates in the same month they release in these new news videos, or should I wait 30 days? Because I'm kind of just playing around with the formula, and I'm trying to better understand exactly what it is I want these videos to be, because the timing of them is a little bit tricky. It's like trying to thread a camel through the eye of a needle in a windstorm as far as when they come out, but that's basically the entirety of the channel. But obviously everyone has been asking me about these Model 2 improvements. I've been previewing them in different builds of MAME, and everyone's been very happy to be able to know they're getting these improvements in the future. So they're either already here and you're watching this after the fact, or they're going to be coming extremely soon. And look out for my video on MAME.278 showing you all of the different improvements, because I'm just showing you Model 2 in this video. There's a ton of other fun stuff for MAME.278 that I'll discuss in that MAME video. But I love getting this improved, because honestly the Model 2 emulator, while it works great, has been abandoned and not really updated in many years now. And it's great to see innovation on the Sega front, because we obviously have Sega Model 1 in MAME, but that could use some improvements. We have Super Model for Sega Model 3, which is absolutely an outstanding emulator, and now we have MAME for Sega Model 2 as well, and that definitely is something that is impressing me, because only a few months ago a lot of these games didn't even have all of the graphics in them. Now they're basically all running, maybe a couple shader issues here and there, but otherwise getting extremely close to what they would look like if you just plugged in a real Sega Model 2 arcade board. And you get two different demos of Manx TT this week. You get both the Sega Saturn version in Amir I just showed you, and now you get it on Model 2 as well, because even though Sega Saturn got a ton of good Model 2 ports, the Model 2 originals are always going to be the best, and now in MAME they've gotten some massive improvements, and it's probably going to be one of those situations some months from now they're probably going to look indistinguishable from real hardware. Now, moving way more modern, we also talked about the fact that Azahar got a big update in the month of June, and if you're not familiar with that name, this is basically the continuation of Citra and a fork of Lime 3DS all rolled up into one. And even though 3DS emulation is not complete in any way, shape, or form, and is still being worked on and improved upon, this is definitely getting a lot better, and it does show that people out there are still working on 3DS emulation in general. And it's really fun to go through all these different update and preview videos. In one video I'm talking about the Sega Saturn, the next one I'm talking about Sega Model 2, then I'm moving over to 3DS, and we're going to even see some GameCube, Wii, and PlayStation Portable before this video is over. So I'd love to see the range of emulation out there as far as the generations are concerned. But this also got some good sound improvements, so it's your next soundtrack sample, and I'll be right back. I mean, that sounds like Cave Story to me, and if you've never played Cave Story before, whether it be 3D on the 3DS or any of the free versions you can download for PC, you 100% owe it to yourself to do so. And just so you know, all of the main videos that this news video is talking about are going to be linked in the description below because they all have some deeper cut technical information. Now moving over to what I assume was everyone's favorite update in June, as far as how many comments I got about it are concerned, is going to be the Dolphin emulator improvements, because the Dolphin team basically went in, redid a lot of the audio system as well as a lot of the frame pacing, giving you a better sounding, better performing Dolphin emulator. And honestly, GameCube and Wii emulation, I would probably say of any platform out there that's modern, is 100% the most buttoned up. Dolphin does things with GameCube and Wii that basically make it feel like an entirely new console. It is probably technically, at least in my opinion, the best emulator out there as far as how much it impresses me and how much it can do, but obviously the team felt that they could do even more and do a better job at doing that, so they went ahead and basically overhauled a large amount of the underlying structure to what Dolphin even was. And that really is the thing. Even if you don't notice a difference when you're playing games, teams are out there trying to improve things under the hood, and maybe you'll notice them and maybe you won't, but it really just shows how dedicated these people are to bringing you the best possible emulation for systems they love. And this was on release 2506, and again, the main video is linked down below, but they talk about all of the different changes that they had in the pipeline and that they are finally here. Adjustments on how audio lag is handled under slowdown, how the frame pacing works, and everything like that. Because in the past, if you did have slowdown, you'd get a little bit of audio glitching or a little bit of audio lag. It was kind of just a weird sound. And now that's going to be much more buttoned up, so as long as you're not bringing a rotten potato to the party as far as your PC specs are concerned, you should have perfect audio in something like Dolphin. And as far as the frame pacing is concerned, that was improved as well. I went over all of that in the video showing you guys all of the different frame graphs, but basically they just made an already smooth experience that much smoother, basically like polishing already polished marble to try to get you the best possible result. And honestly, I think for the most part, people are mostly impressed by stuff like the audio emulation improvements, because again, they hear audio hitching or stuttering because of that slowdown, and now that's basically been completely fixed up. So even if something under the hood is slowing down and you might not visually notice it, you used to be able to hear it, and now that isn't the case whatsoever. And honestly, given the choice between playing GameCube or Wii as real hardware or playing on Dolphin, Dolphin is my preferred way to play these consoles, and it got even better in the month of June, and that's absolutely exciting to see something like that happen. Now staying with the modern emulators, but moving back to handhelds, this is PPSSPP, and that is a PlayStation Portable emulator, and this honestly is a very mature emulation platform that allows you to play almost all of the PlayStation Portable games out there. And it really is interesting because this one got another huge update in June as well. It's like all of the emulation teams decided to try to one-up one another with the biggest update in the month of June, and I'm sure that's just a complete coincidence, I would say, because it's school is letting out, but honestly, no school kids are going to be playing a lot of PlayStation Portable. And again, every single video in the link below has a lot more of the technical detail on that, but basically PPSSPP 1.19 improved a metric ton of stuff, both in game compatibility, both in audio and video support, trying to fix up some bugs, get more games working. And honestly, mature emulators like this don't see massive upgrades all the time. When it basically does 99% of a library as well, if not better than the original hardware, there isn't a lot of stuff to fix, but this one definitely was a big update for an emulation platform that I've been using for years now, and I've done tutorials on for Steam Deck and even PC. And if you've never played around with PPSSPP, I can't stress out enough just how good it truly is and how much better it makes playing these games than even playing them on an original PlayStation Portable, because you get that internal rendering resolution bump, and while these games don't feel like they would have come out in 2025, they feel more like 5 years old, not like 10 to 15 years old at this point in time, because the PSP is definitely not a new platform whatsoever. I can't actually believe how old it is at this point in time. Kind of makes me feel a little bit old as well. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me, did you own a PSP back in the day, or do you only emulate it? Because I get a lot of comments from people that have never actually used the original hardware and basically only use software emulation to play their games. But that's basically the entirety of the emulation updates I'm talking about in the month of June. I'm sure there's something out there I forgot about, so leave me a comment down below and you tell me what I forgot to talk about. And do tell me if you like this format as well. I just kind of felt like playing around right before July 4th hit, just seeing if comprising all of these videos into one was something you guys are interested in, because I'm always thinking about new ideas for the channel, and this is one that came to mind. But we're done. Go check out these emulators. They're all going to be amazing in their own right. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.